Welcome back to Couch Sessions with me, Michael. Today I'm joined with Mike RØNAN, aka RØNAN, and it was an absolute pleasure to speak to this humble human. And if you haven't already, don't forget to follow Couch Sessions on your favorite podcast platform. And if you haven't, go check out the Patreon where you can get exclusive access to these interviews a day ahead, ad-free, and at 20 Patreons, I'll start a whole new podcast just for you guys. So without further ado, find that comfy spot on the couch and let's get it. We're on. Hey, Mike, thanks for coming on, man. I know you're over in the States, and I definitely know you're a busy man, so your time is greatly appreciated.
Absolutely, man. Well, it's a pleasure to be able to sit down and talk with you, dude. I'm happy to be here.
Tell me where it all began for you as a music artist. Like, where did it start?
Okay, so when I started off, I originally was playing guitar and percussion. I started off probably around the age of like 7, I think is when I started taking my first lessons. And then I quickly kind of fell in love with just like all sorts of different instruments. I was playing like bass and guitar and drums and like kind of singing, but I had a really annoying voice. And then I kind of progressed from there and got into it further. Especially like near high school, I really started getting a development into it and I went to boarding school for it. And then after high school, I just kind of fell in love with like electronic music after I kind of got out of the whole singer-songwriter type thing. And then, I just, started falling in love with it. I mean, the real start of it though, was basically in my kitchen at home with my folks. And they were not musicians, but they encouraged it. You know what I mean? A lot. So,
well, that's good. It's always good to have encouraging people around you, especially in the music industry, because it can be hard.
Absolutely.
Just unpacking what you said there, your singer-songwriting career, did you ever release anything?
Yeah, so I did release a couple of tracks. I had like a trio band too, for a little bit. And it was pretty fun. We released a couple of tracks. I did my first ever studio single when I was a senior in high school. And I laid down, I think it was like 11, 12 or 13 different instruments for like my first like track like I ever did. I got to go to a studio for my first time and it was pretty cool, but we didn't release a lot. Like, I mean, I probably released only, I would say under 10 songs.
I'm going to have to go find that for sure.
God. Okay. Well, I will send you links. I hope to God none of it's too privately available. Or publicly, I should say, my bad. But yeah, it is something that, I mean, it was really cool though. And I loved it. It was just something that I thought was very, at the time, like kind of dying off. So I didn't really pursue it very heavily after a while. It was so much fun. It's something I still do. Like I still play guitar quite often, but it just was something that I didn't feel was sensible in that day and age.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How would you describe your sound now as an artist?
Man. Well, I would say that I try to be very high energy. I think that's the big thing that I always want to bring to the table is I always want to have one of the highest energies in the room. And my sound, as far as like kind of like where it's been like going as in the designer of, production aspects, quote unquote, of where I am putting my direction on. It's kind of all over. I've noticed that in the time that I've been producing, I've gotten a lot more comfortable with expressing more, I would say, frivolous ideas and more open ideas in my own project, which is super cool because I have made stuff that I would consider lo-fi, and I have made stuff that I would consider more ambient sounding music, as well as the heavy dubstep stuff. And I don't know. I would say as of right now, I've made a lot of new tear out sounds, which is really cool that I've been designing. And as well as I've been making a lot of new lo-fi stuff that I may even be putting out on a side project here in the next few months. So it's been a lot of real high energy and a lot of just trying to keep it as tangible to my reality as possible, I would say.
Yeah. How
Mhm.
does and how does music make you feel? Do you find yourself making different music with different vibes
Yeah,
that how you
absolutely.
feel? Yeah.
Yeah, I do. It is something that I have had. Yeah, my cats are literally terrorists in the background and are just breaking things. Don't mind them. But they literally, it is a thing that I would say, when I am upset, I use this as a way to cope with some of the anxieties and stresses that are in my own world. Um, there is this new song that I have just started making. It's a lo-fi track, but it's literally supposed to be advice for myself. Because I find myself all the time getting caught up in the past and getting caught up in things that I can't control. And it's something that's difficult for me to always understand in the immediacy, but when I'm able to create something, I hope that it can also like help myself, too, in the process, obviously, other than just, being something that is something for people to listen to.
On that, have you ever felt like giving up?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
All the time. And I know that sounds horrible, but please don't think that that's a bad thing. I think it's actually a very healthy thing.
You're only human.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think that's a constant reminder of that I have days where I have woken up and I have spoken to my management and, hey, you need to calm down, sir. And hold on. And that's an USB. I don't need you to push off flash drives. And and so with giving up, dude, God, I have days where I wake up and I talk to my management about it. And even especially because of a lot of stuff that goes on in local scenes, you know what I mean? There's a lot of politics and problematic situations that really weigh on us artists and affect us. And I think that it's a constant thing where you have to remember what you're here for. You know what I mean? You're either here for the facts that you're going to feed into all of the stuff going on around you, or you're here for the fact that you're here for the music. And I can be in a testament to say that I've not always had all of the people in the world supporting me, but I guess the biggest thing that I will always say that I do is I don't give up on things, even if I want to. I have a great team of people around me that ensure that I don't give up ever.
Yeah.
Because I have had so many days where I break down on the phone, and I'm sleep deprived and I'm between shows or working tirelessly on something for the last week for the company or for the festival that we have upcoming. And it is definitely one of those things that I'm constantly reminded of my humanity. And I think that's really okay. I tell that to everybody, that if you don't have moments of doubt, you're not really pushing yourself hard enough.
True.
Mhm.
Very true. What's the tour life like for someone outside of the industry?
So like, to be kind of upfront, like I've never really like toured. I've only like been on tour stops and support stops, and I've done some local tours, I would say, around Michigan and around the neighboring states, even as far as like New York and a couple other like further out states. I've played once in California, but it was like a small, like, like back alley type deal. But this is my first real year of touring, like, and scheduling things like every weekend. And even right now, it's kind of difficult, with things being the way they are.
Yeah.
It's definitely tricky. I tell everybody this, it is a lot of planning and a lot of on just being conscious of trying to be strategic in how you plan things out. And between my management and myself, it is something that we are really pushing for, even in this time, to be able for me to go on tour. And it has been actually a shocking amount of success, which has been great. But at the same time, with it, it's a lot of highs and lows. I tell this to everybody, that you have times where like you'll be on shows or be told that you're going to be on it, and then sometimes they pull you off or they rebook it, or sometimes they have to cancel due to state regulations or other things that are going on right now. And it's a lot of emotional ups and downs. It's kind of a roller coaster for everybody. I mean, sometimes you're like so excited, everyone's freaking out, high fives, screaming, you know what I mean, type shit. And then there's other times where you're like, oh my gosh, like we're gonna have to pull me off this lineup, or we're gonna have to like reconsider, or oh, this isn't even happening at all anymore. And so it's very, very emotionally stressful. I tell this to everybody. I mean, honestly, man, even though I'm not even at that point where I'm like, every single night of the week booked, I can already tell that it would be it's definitely difficult. It's not easy, and it's not for everybody. The anxieties that go around meeting new people and going from state to state where you don't know anybody are also a big thing in this. Yeah. And I think that a lot of people see touring as like the kind of the glam, the road life, the show life, but they don't see like the long nights, that you're up and, people like, I mean, honestly, it's not all it seems to be, but it is so rewarding that even with all the other aspects into it, it's so worth it every time, man. It's so cool to be able to connect with people that listen to your music. Like I've always been astonished at how far people will travel. like this last weekend, we actually had a girl, and mind you, the show was in Chicago with Little Texas, and that was sold out, and it was amazing. But we had this girl that had flown from Florida to Illinois. And for your awareness, because I know that you're over there, that's about a 20-hour drive or about a 3 or 4 hour plane trip.
Jeez.
So it's like across the country, essentially. You know what I mean? In my opinion, I mean, that's as far as you could go north from that area other than coming up into Michigan. Yeah. So it was a cool thing. And meeting those people for the first time, it's like, sometimes you don't realize the effect that you have on people's lives. And even if you think that you're not doing a whole lot, you could have made a big difference. And meeting some of those fans and friends that come from all over and going out on the road, I would say, is like some of the coolest experiences I've ever had in my whole life. People talk about how shows are coming back, and I'm like personally so grateful to be able to do it again, because it was such a big part of making me who I am. And the tour life is tricky, but it is a true blessing for those who get to be on it, seriously.
You have a festival of your own, right? Or a co-festival, Electronic Sunset?
Yeah.
How's that, putting that together?
What I would say is, like, I mean, it is in this time, it's been really tricky. Due with everything and agencies having a lot of, shutdowns and stuff like that, and being very, very limited on who they're working with. It was nothing short of a challenge for us. Between Bootleg Bass and myself, and the people at Ombu Agency, we've been trying to get a lot of agencies on the line. It was tricky at first. It was, we don't know if this is going to be a thing due to regulations, due to other means. A lot of concerns from a lot of people, but with that being said, it didn't really stop us. We had a great result when I went down for the first Electronic Sunset last year, which my company was not involved in. And I was one of the headliners that they had booked, and it was amazing. They did an amazing event. The guys at Bootleg Bass honestly made my whole summer. There was nothing going on at the time. Except for this event that I really played. I played a very small handful of events during 2020, and it was probably one of the highlights. So once I had kind of gotten home and I reconnected with these guys, we had sat down and said, look, let's partner up and let's try to make this more of a big time event, as opposed to it just being all locals. So we went about getting a hold of Prison Talent Agency, and the amazing people over there. They do a great job. And they responded to us right away saying, hey, we have availability and we have people for this weekend if you'd like them. And we took a very long look at who they had and who was available and within our range of where we were willing to spend on artists. And it was a pretty clear-cut decision of going with them. They were very accommodable in working with us. And, it was really, really nice as far as getting the ball rolling with those things. And even still, like, we have just announced our phase 2 lineup, which we did get to announce all of our local supports and everybody else that was on the lineup. and it is a really exciting thing to be able to throw a festival with so much talent. I think it was a challenge for sure to get so many people on board, and we're not even done. We do have another announcement of a whole separate lineup for the pre-party on Thursday, which we got some huge heavy hitters coming in for. And so we have been kind of like pacing ourselves, and it has been something that, for my own end, it is the first 5-figure festival of investment that I've ever been involved with. It is something that when you're putting serious money down, you obviously hope to God it goes well, but not only with the money aspect, but with the attendance aspect too. Yeah. We want people to be safe. We want people to understand that this will be a social distance outdoor festival that we are taking every possible precaution with, you know what I mean? Because with the state of everything that's going on, in the state of the country that, has been kind of up and down, unfortunately, over here, it is something that we have to just take lightly, and we have to take with a very generous and concerned heart for our community, because we obviously will do what we must to make sure that this is a safe event above all else.
Yeah.
And in the end, we're very patient with how we waited, and we tried to span this as far as we could to make sure that it would ensure that we could maximize the amount of attendees so people can be able to feel free to go. And as of right now, we're sitting at 1,000-person capacity for this venue, which is, in my eyes, is a fair amount of people to keep socially distanced, and a lot of great memories to be made, if anything.
Yeah. Well, the smaller the event, the bigger memories that can be had. Exactly. It's kind of a more of an intimate style festival.
I mean, yeah, dude. And I know for a fact with some of these people on this lineup, like Cleopatra, who has just been featured on Dead Beats, and, like Felmax and, Blackout and, Cultivate, those guys, I don't know how long we'll be able to have them in situations on like, shows under 1,000 people. Yeah. Like whenever this is, I mean, it does provide a very unique opportunity, like you're saying, for people to be able to come into these events and see them, close up firsthand experiences for all of us. And this is, beyond saying even just the headliners. We have some people on these events that are just crushing the game right now, and they could be the next big thing. We have been very careful who we selected. So it is something that I think is a very unique opportunity for people. And I hope that people will understand that too. It's going to be an amazing event, to say the least.
Well, let's hope this event adds up to the lineups of all the other major events you guys have over there.
Right.
Like, I know for a fact that Aussies over here, we have a bass scene, but you guys, when you guys flock to a festival for a bass music festival, you come in hundreds and thousands. Here we can barely pack out 1,000 club show.
Really?
Interesting.
That's wild. What is the predominant scene then there?
Techno.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. Techno and house.
Okay. I could see that.
Yeah. But
it's a big scene.
Like, you can pack out, but you need to bring an American over or someone huge, like to be able to pack out a venue of about 1,000. And even then, that's hard. Like, they're still pushing towards the end. You guys sell Lost Land tickets in a day, an hour. Like, it's insane. I don't know what you guys do.
A lot of teen angst and people that want to go out and rage and have a good time. Honestly, is what I can tell. I mean, the dubstep scene here, you're not wrong, is probably the biggest on earth right now. I mean, from what I can tell, I don't know if anywhere else is doing it like this, but like, it's like our be all and end all, you know what I mean, of what we do right now. I mean, the house music scene is eternal over here. You know what I mean? Like, it's never going to go away because it's such a staple, and it was a creation thing, especially even in my own state. Like, Detroit house is like, huge, you know what I mean? But with that being said, like, the dubstep scene in Detroit, has just been crushing it. There's been people like out here making events like, I have a friend of mine named Chad Smith, who is the owner of Ignite Events, and he had a Liquid Stranger event that sold out in, I think like 48 hours. I may be overstating that. I think it was like 24 hours, and it was a drive-in event, and gone. All the tickets gone. I had to buy mine first day, and I had to buy a whole pod. Worth it, because if I would have waited the next day, it would have been gone. Like that's, I mean, I don't know if it's just because Americans are grabby, but I think that, we always want to get it, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it was like, wow, like, you know what I mean? Our dubstep scene, even right now, is just like insane.
Yeah.
And like, you don't see that same thing right now with house. I have seen all these smaller house shows that are killing it, but like, you don't see these like Lost Land caliber festivals, you know what I mean? That are like instantly sold out. I mean, okay, besides Millennium's thing, we all saw that. Yeah. And that was nuts. Okay. We'll give it to Millennium and sing the high praises, because God almighty, that was insane. First event in like 10 minutes sells out. Like, geez.
Well, he's on a whole other level, like his music is very passionate.
Oh God. Yeah. I saw him in, God almighty, I saw him at in Detroit, and it was like unbelievable. Like, I mean, he was with Dabin too, and so Dabin was also unbelievable. And so I don't know, just an incredible set of artists for sure.
You've taken this up full time. You're a full-time artist now. What's it like going to your boss and giving that 2 weeks resignation?
Oh God, this is funny. So I haven't actually gotten a chance to talk about this yet, so this is actually really great. So I don't really tell many people about what my day job was, but my day job was that I was a security officer at a botanical garden and sculpture park. And I loved it. It was easy. It was a beautiful setting to work in, very inspiring to work on music, especially. I got a lot of great samples just walking around that place. But it was really tough to work there. I felt like I was always selling myself away for a check, and I never really liked it. And when I put in my 2 weeks, I didn't actually technically all the way put them in. I more or less just said, hey, I have some stuff going on, and I don't think I'm going to be able to work here anymore. And my boss kind of looked at me, and it was an awkward silence for about 10 seconds. And she goes, is it music related? And I go, yeah. And she goes, okay. And there wasn't anything that was really said. I know this sounds horribly odd. A lot of people express like these horrible things that they do when they quit, or like stuff like that. But in the end, my coworkers were actually very sweet people, and they would let me work on music at work a lot. They would support me, and they cared about my project, which was really nice of them. And you don't find that everywhere. And actually I will mention this guy's name just because it is something that I will like drop him by name, because it actually mattered to me while working there and really pushed me to leave. His name is Marty. He is in his like mid 60s. He's about to retire in like a couple of years. But this one day I came in, and he had brought me a SanDisk SD card.
Yep.
And I made a post about this a while ago, but it was in terms of that he came in and he said, I really had heard the song you're working on, which was my collab with Virtuosic, that got signed. Big shout outs to Michael Province, by the way. He's a great human. But it was that song in particular. And he goes, I really, really loved hearing that. Could you put it on there for me and put some of your other original music on there? I'd love to listen to it more. And that was a big moment for me of like realizing that like I was actually doing something, you know what I mean? And it was making a difference, you know what I mean, to people that were outside of my generation, outside of my friend circle. And this was my boss at work, you know what I mean? This is not somebody that was just like a stranger, and he could have just been like, stop working on that shit. I don't want to hear your music. But instead of doing that, he was like really supportive and positive about me and me chasing this, you know what I mean? Which was really cool, which was not always a thing in my life. So when I put in my 2 weeks to them, not only did I just do it kind of like that, and I ended up just kind of leaving, because also we had an instance at work where there was some issues with COVID and an exposure at our work situation. So we were going to be shut down anyways. So it kind of worked out in everybody's favor. to just kind of be a clean break in that sense. But I will tell this to everybody that like makes a quit of their job or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like some people will make a viral video off of that, like, and act like it's sensible to be a jerk and leave your workplace because you got to do what you wanted to do. Like, that's really cool and all. And I can totally understand that if your workplace is really shitty to you, but if people are good to you, you never want to be mean to them, you know? Exactly. And I was really, in the end, I had a lot of moments where I was about to be like, fuck you to the cameras, you know, like, and like smoke a bowl or something on the way out, or I don't know, like something, you know, but instead I just kind of just stopped and, you know, I just kind of thanked them and said, I appreciate it. And I hope to see them around, you know, and I told Marty, because since we worked in security, that if I ever got big enough, I would steal him from that office for his last year of work and bring him out on tour with me.
Yeah.
You know, and that was it. I mean, a lot of people have some dramatic, crazy story about when they quit, but mine was actually just very simple. And it was kind of nice. I know it sounds weird, but it was the only time I ever felt like I've left a job, and I felt like I left it in like the best way possible. Like I didn't leave it like a jerk or, you know, get in trouble or anything like that. I've had instances where I've had workplaces that have not been kind to me. I think we all have had a bad job or two, you know.
Yep.
But it's one of those things that sometimes you get blessed with having a decent experience. And I was very, very thankful that I worked in a place that encouraged my passions, you know.
Well, if the music industry doesn't pan out, you know, you can always go back. You haven't
right. I mean, hey, I got a long career as a security guard out of me.
Could you imagine people walking through the botanical gardens and go, "Hey, aren't you?" Yeah, yeah.
That's me. Yeah, and I would be. I had that happen a couple of times when I was working there, and it was okay. I mean, it was just like kind of weird. They're just like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "I'm working." hence the uniform. Like, I mean, I'm in like a rent-a-cop outfit. Like, obviously, you know what I mean. Like, so it was something that, I mean, oh gosh, it's like kind of like yikes. Like you kind of would like scurry away a little bit because I'd be a little bit embarrassed that I was at work, but whatever. Yeah. You deal with it.
You are a businessman. You run Unbu Agency.
Mm-hmm.
And correct. Anything else? Am I missing something?
So I have a studio here in Grand Rapids that I'm partnered up in.
Yes.
That is kind of a separated thing separated on from my company, Unbu Agency. And we just do recordings for vocalists and stuff like that. Also, I do teach lessons. I have like kind of what I call like an after school program for people that have interest in DJing. That they could just, you know, come over to either my apartment or they come to my studio and we work on my CDJs and on their DJing. And that's basically, I mean, all I do as of right now. I mean, I run Unbu Agency, which Unbu Agency, we're making events and we're doing live streams and we are helping organize bookings for people as best we can. But you know, that's basically all we do. I mean, we just make events and try to do our best to make them as eventful, I guess, as possible. I don't know as easy as that is to say, but it's just something that, you know, we enjoy doing and we plan to do a lot more, especially in the Midwest region of the United States and hopefully go outside of the US too at some point. Would love to one day do an Unbu Agency takeover in Aussie. That would be like huge for us one day. But
hopefully we can pack out that show.
Right. Hopefully we can get some dubstep people there. But you know, it's something that I think is a very interesting thing. I do a lot of different jobs in order to obviously pay my bills, but it's all music. And so that's the thing, is that like I do music full time. It is only events, lessons, you know, studio sessions where I'm doing mix downs and masters for vocals and stuff like that, or creating custom beats for people. And I mean, and selling merch. Yeah. And my new hoodie lines and t-shirt lines are about to come in the next few weeks. We've been sold out of everything for months, but gotta love shipping right now. But yeah, so but otherwise, you know, it is definitely a challenge. even right now, just to do all of it as a whole is not easy. But with Ambu Agency expanding, we are already planning on hiring on some new people and having some interviews for some interns. Just because of the way that we've been expanding across the Midwest. We really have had a lot of venues and promoters that are reaching out to us and talking to us about working with their venues and having residency and things of that nature, which is really, really exciting for us. But we always are kind of like the forefront of making sure that we are on top of what is the up and up and where is the next best place to be before it is the next best place to be, essentially. Yeah. So we definitely have been trying our best, and with all of the things kind of going on, I don't think I could do it without my team. Being real with you, I have like the best team in the world for Ambu. Caleb Bear and Cortland Yates are like my rocks for that company, and Caleb Bear is our COO and our media manager, and Cortland Yates is our president. But they go above and beyond and have to deal with me all the time and all of my antics. And me also being an artist, which is so hard on them, I know. But at the same time as they love it because they get this ability to talk to somebody firsthand at all times. You know what I mean? And that's like what they always tell me. Well, we wouldn't know how to do a lot of this stuff if we wouldn't be able to talk to you or with you about some of this stuff. So it is really cool. And I think that doing all of that at the same time is tough, but it is something that I am very proud to be able to leave the job and to do appropriately and within the right parameters, is the big thing too. It was a long time coming. A lot of hard talks with my parents who were very, very concerned. And trying to make sure that I'm okay and that I'm going to be able to eat and how are you ever going to get a girlfriend and all that shit, and yeah, I don't know. It's, the basic conversations of concerned parents, but other than that, it's been, I've had a lot of support from a lot of people, and, I for sure have my fair share of haters, but I think that everybody that has some type of success does. So,
Look, they say if you have haters, you've made it.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and on that, at what point in your career would you say you've made it?
I think that when I go around and I can either tour with another well-established artist or that I can land on the ability, there's kind of two senses of made it for me, I guess I should say. There's the made it sense for my project RØNAN, and there's the made it sense for my company Ambu. Mm-hmm. Made it for Ambu is when we have Ambu Festival. We will have our own fest one day, and that's something that we talk about all the time as our top goal. We want to have our own fest and be able to create an experience, a full immersive experience for people. And that's when we will know we made it, in my opinion, is doing that. And when we can do it every year and hopefully maybe even multiple locations, that would be a big thing for us on that front. On the front of the RØNAN project, I think the big thing that I have goals for myself is in certain areas. I think definitely like once I have a track that by itself would hit over 100K plays, that would be a big deal for me. Right now I have, as it sits on only self-releases, I have about 32,000 plays on just SoundCloud. I have no idea on everything else. I just looked at this before we talked so that I would know, because I hadn't really looked in a while. I know that in November it was sitting about 20,000 plays. So it has gained a good amount of traction since even November. But it is something that is a continual growth process. And I think that the biggest goal for me in that project in the end and knowing when I've made it would be something like that I, am playing on festivals and things that I would like to be on, like Lost Lands and some of the other ones that I had in my mind's eye, as well as, kind of being that artist that I want to be, in the studio. I feel like at times I have struggles even with production as it is, because I've only been working in Ableton for about 2 years. But just being more comfortable in everything, I think would be the biggest moment of me making it, is that when I start feeling a lot more grounded in the industry and feeling like my sound is where it wants to be and where it's going to end up being, as opposed to where I am right now, where I'm able to create a lot of different stuff. But I think that as far as where I want to be, I'm still just not there yet. And I think that's okay. I love learning and I love pushing myself. So any chance that I can improve what I'm doing, I'm usually there.
Yeah. On some personal notes, have you tried Vegemite and what's your take on it?
Oh God. I have never tried Vegemite.
Oh shit.
And I feel really bad now because I have offered Vegemite and I didn't try it because I didn't know what the hell the person was saying. We were in a bar and she was yelling at me and I didn't understand what it was. And so I didn't want to try it. What does it taste like?
Look, there's a common misperception that you eat it like Nutella, but
Okay.
you don't.
What do you eat it like?
It's like 2 parts butter, 1 part Vegemite.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll have to send you a jar. 100%.
Oh my God.
I'll have to send you something.
I literally will eat it. Like, I mean, I don't mean to be this guy, but like, I'm really not a very picky eater. So I probably will like it. Oh, like, I just throwing that. Like, I mean, I like a lot. I mean, I've eaten some really exotic food in my time, for sure.
And what is your favorite food?
Oh, I'm really, really basic actually, even though I have eaten a lot of exotic food. I'm like a super diehard lover for like a basic cheese pizza. I know that's really weird, but that, and then I really, really like I mean, I don't know if you guys have these over in Australia, but they're called hush puppies.
Oh,
It's like kind of like a breaded dough ball. It's deep fried.
yeah, no.
And yeah, so they're like a thing in the South that's kind of up here. They're like a breaded dough ball, that's deep fried, and they usually have like some type of glaze or some type of seasoning in them. But they're like a kind of like a sweet treat type thing. But they're super good. I love those. I used to have those in the area that I grew up in North Carolina before I moved up here, and they actually do have them up here now, which is super awesome. But they didn't always. But it was kind of like a Southern United States type feel. Dessert. Super good though. If you ever get a chance, hush puppies.
Are they only just up there? Because I've been to LA.
I think that they'd be in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
can
mean,
look.
they're an American thing. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like, yeah, it's one of those things that you get when you're here, like deep fried Twinkies or Oreos.
And if you could take one thing from Australia and implement it in the States, what would that be?
Dude, I want those. Like, okay, this is gonna sound stupid. It's all animal related because I love animals, obviously. I would totally take either having wallabies, kangaroos, or the little kiwi bird. Do you guys have those still? I don't know if those are still like alive anymore. I know that sounds horrible, but like, I don't know if they're extinct or not. They were the little birds that are like this big. They were called a kiwi.
Whale?
Kiwi, I think. Kiwi. Am I maybe wrong? I'm like, I swear to God, that's from Australia. Yeah, it's from New Zealand.
Oh, yeah, kiwi bird. Yeah.
Yeah, those things.
Have you ever tried a kiwi fruit?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Those are super good. I know that sounds weird, but the only reference that I really had growing up to understanding what went on in Australia was the Rocket Power movie,
Yep.
which was, a cartoon and was probably not very informative. But they had like kiwi birds in that movie, and I always like would joke to my parents and say I want one of those as a pet, and they would never let me have one. So
Wow. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of licensing and regulation.
yeah, probably. Yeah, my dad was like, "This kid's crazy. He's got issues."
And for kangaroos, man, you can have them.
Really?
Yeah, they're so bad over here. Like, lovely creatures, but we have a lot of them.
Okay, so like I've heard horror stories from certain friends of mine. Do you like have a horror story around any kangaroo instances that have ever happened?
No, but I do know that they can really fuck up your car. Like if you
Really?
hit one,
Yeah.
they're just a walking tank.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, like
they're
you
big,
hit one,
right?
They'll go under your car, they'll mess up everything up underneath it, and then you think they're dead, and they'll just get up and hop away like nothing ever happened. And you're sitting on the side of the road with the leaking oil, and it's just like, what do I do now?
That's
Like,
crazy.
yeah.
Because like you see these videos online where like they'll like fight somebody's dog.
Oh yeah,
Is that real? Okay, so that happens. Like they'll
it's a
go
real
fight
thing.
other animals. Yeah, okay. I
Which
can see
reminded me of I was on a school camp. Now you're interviewing me. What is this? I was on a school
I
camp,
flipped it around.
and a mate of mine. We can go in there and pat the kangaroos. You know, they're not
Yeah.
insane creatures, but he walked in there and he mustn't have liked what my mate was bringing, so he got up on his tail and booted him across the zoo area where they were, and yeah, like
That's
just yeah, they're aggressive. They're not
I've heard.
calm animals.
Well, I've heard that they're not polite, like to people, like to an extent. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it depends, obviously, what you're doing. But like in the States here, we have like zoos and stuff where you can go pet wallabies and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Kind of similar, probably to what you're talking about. And
yeah.
like, and I essentially like I remember going in there once and similar to what you had happened, but thankfully with none of me and my friends, but it's really kind of messed up is one of these wallabies like did the same thing that you're talking about, but like to like a little kid.
Yeah.
And it was like horrific, but like, you know what I mean? You can tell that they're very strong animals, like overall. I don't know. It's kind of interesting because I was like, wow, like, because there's like signs up that say, hey, be careful because they can kick really hard, essentially.
Yep. Because I grew up hand feeding them, so I used to live out in the bush or the sticks, or I don't know what you guys call it over there.
Yeah,
But,
that's like similar. Yeah.
yeah, and so we had kangaroos in the front yard all the time, so I used to feed them constantly. So yeah, they're not aggressive, but if they're not feeling you, yeah, you'll know about it.
That's so crazy. Like, I mean, obviously, I know that you guys down there have a shit ton of like animal life, like and stuff like that. That's way different than what we have.
I'm
Is
pretty
it
sure
like
we got
trick-
the top 3 deadly snakes. You know, we got a lot of deadly stuff here.
That's what I thought I've been told too. I was like, I don't want to misquote or anything, but like, I swear to God, you guys have like one of the worst countries for like most deadly stuff laying around.
Yeah, just everyday things for us. We look at it like, oh yeah,
Yeah. Well, like in Michigan, like I don't know if you knew this, but like where I'm from, like we don't have any. We have two technically species of animals that like one spider and one snake. The snake can't even kill you, really. Like I mean, it'll get you sick, but it won't kill you. Like you know what I mean? I don't even know if the spider will kill you. Like we have black widows here, but they're only up north, and then we have which is called like the Michigan rattler. So it's a rattlesnake. But they are very small. And from what I know, they don't really kill you. They just get you like a very, very nasty flu type thing going on.
they both sound very dangerous. Like their names lead on
have,
more than what you're telling me.
Black Widow is a nasty name. I know that can probably kill you. I'm fairly certain. We have a couple others, but like I don't think we got anything else other than that. Like real shit. Like we don't really have a whole lot of nonsense wildlife. We have deer.
Yeah.
Deer are annoying. Like we have a shit ton of deer that are annoying as heck, and that I've been in various cars that have hit deer.
Yeah. Our kangaroos are like your deers.
Yeah, that's what I'm understanding. I'm
Yeah.
coming to understand that. Yeah, we have about the same issue, just different animals over here.
Yeah.
And they're like the same thing. You hit one of those things, it'll total your car completely. Like, bye. Yeah, your vehicle's gone. But yeah, I mean, honestly, living in the States is pretty laid back as far as the most part. We don't have a lot of kangaroo invasions or any of that stuff. So that's good at least.
What do you have to say to your ever-growing fan base?
Oh God, I love them. First off, they're the sweetest fucking people in the world. I think that to those of the people that stuck around since like it was, I mean, I used to play empty shows, dude, for like 4 people. And like there's been people that have been in that room from when that's happened till now. And like I guess I just tell them all the time, like, thank God I have them around. I don't know where I'd be without them. I don't know if I'd even be doing this at all. without like all the kind words and the people that stood by me, even when shit got tough. Like there was instances with, various problems throughout my career. Of course, like every other road, there's bumps in it. And having that support system of amazing fans and friends and family members that stuck by me through everything and still do to the day they're like the biggest source of strength I think I could ever have is from them. I have a lot of inner strength for sure, but I look to them in times where I doubt myself because I see the love I receive from them, and it's crazy. It's world changing to me, at least.
And what do you have to say to anybody who is not following you?
I tell them that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a lot of people that I know don't like me, and that's okay, and I don't always expect everybody to like me, and that's fair. What I would tell people is that if you don't like me and you don't appreciate what I'm doing, I feel like that's okay, and you have every right to not. I encourage people, if they don't know me though, to not speak illy on me, because I have a lot of times where I have had people come in my midst where they will say something that someone else has said and they never talk to me about it, and then they talk to me about it and then they feel completely differently. Because usually what I have found in my time of being in this industry is that people have a weird sense of conveying what's true and what's not, and they like to leave out important details to make things seem different. So I have had a lot of people that I know don't follow me and don't want to follow me. And you know what? Like, I actually respect the hell out of that. I have no reason to want every person to follow me, and I have no desire to adhere to everybody. So I would honestly probably thank them too, because they motivated me a lot of the times to being a person that I am now. And trying to rise above some of the stuff that I was adhering to before. I would find myself getting caught up in local drama and, these weird feud battles with people from around my area or from wherever, just from Facebook or whatever. And now I feel a lot better about that, because I know in my heart and in my head that I've been doing very well for myself, and I've been keeping a better conscious and mindset toward what I've been doing. And I feel bad for some of those people because they never got the chance to talk to me about anything. But at the same time, I completely respect them. And I'm like, that's okay. And I hope the best for most of them. If not all of them, I don't wish illy upon them. I just wish that it was different for a lot of instances, for sure.
Well, you are a very humble person, reaching out to you about a week and a half ago to jump on this podcast, just the straight up reply and response I got. You're a very humble person, and I got that from the get-go. It's very rare in this industry where you find humble and nice people. Like it's often, but then you get them people who are just not on. Like they just don't want to bar of anyone else. Like they're the shit.
And I have a lot of people actually that would tell you the opposite of what you just said about me, that they say that I'm cocky and arrogant and this and that. And then I'm like, well, you don't know me though, and you've never talked to me. And so it's like, how can you say these things? And it's, I've had a lot of people that say that about me, that they say that like, you're an absolute joy to work with. You're straightforward. You're sweet. You know what I mean? And I try to be at every point, and I'm always just like a straightforward person. And I try to be as respectable to anybody that as they are to me. If people treat me with kindness, I give it right back 110% every time. And I have noticed that, yeah, there's definitely some people that think I'm the opposite of that, but I've noticed that most of those individuals don't know me, and they take a very face value of what they see either on the internet or when I'm up on stage, and take assumptions. And a lot of that people fail to realize is a lot is just branding and show dynamics. Like, I had an instance where I had a young man that got very upset at me the other day because I didn't recognize him at a show. And I wear glasses normally. I'm not wearing them right now, but I should be wearing glasses 24/7. in context, but my eyes just don't like them. So, I didn't recognize him, not because I didn't know it wasn't him, is because I couldn't see him. And I had to explain that, but he came at me very hostily and I had to like de-escalate him and be like, dude, no, like, I know who you are, but like, and I have to rationalize with certain people. And I implore people all the time, if they have, any discrepancies with myself, or if they have any discrepancies with anything they think I've done, like, a lot of problems would be solved with people if they just go to the root and talk to them about it. Yep. And so I encourage people. I'm a very open, accessible person. And yes, my management is involved with my inboxes, but like, it is something that, like, I'm very open and happy to respond, especially if it's something that I can help better a situation. Because I'm usually the first person to say, okay, well, if this situation isn't good, what can we do to make it better? Because I don't want to sit there and dwell on a bunch of negative stuff either,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man. I assume you have a lot of stuff on tonight.
I'm getting ready for my show tomorrow.
Yeah.
I have a headline show out in Pontiac at Electricity Nightclub. And I got my buddy Hounds from Subsidia that's coming out with AP and Cameron Oakley as my supports. So it's going to be a super exciting night tomorrow. But tonight, honestly, I'm just working in the studio, working on stuff for tomorrow. I have this really, really cool outro that I am creating for my next 2 sets that is actually made out of only voicemails. So I've made it out of all the voicemails of a lot of people that have positively affected my life, friends, family, and etc. So,
well, that's sick. I can't wait to hear that.
Yeah, I'll happily send it to you once we get off. I'm almost done. So.
Oh, wow. Oh, I wasn't expecting that one either.
Absolutely. No, I'll absolutely send it to you.
Awesome, man. I'll let you go.
Yeah.
We've been talking for about an hour, so I assume you're hungry or you got shit to do.
Dude, I am honestly just happy to do this with you. It was a pleasure talking to you. Seriously, you are such a nice guy yourself, and you should definitely do this with more people because I love talking with you, man. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Well, from what we've been talking now, I feel like I know you more, but I feel like I know you, but I've never known you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, dude. And I would hope that, with people watching or listening, you know what I mean, that they can find something similar in that. Because I feel like that's a big step. And I am such a big supporter of you giving a platform for people like myself to be able to come on and just talk a little bit about what we do. Because it is something that I feel like, goes overviewed sometimes and overlooked, because
you're only human,
Right.
Like you're not this robot that needs to look professional for everything. Like, yeah, it's the brand, but at the end of the day, you go home and you think shit too,
Yeah, dude, I am the first person to admit that I make mistakes. I have my faults. I have my issues. I am nowhere near perfect, and I am completely content with all of that.
Maybe I'm missing something. I don't see what these haters hate. You're a very humble person.
I don't know, man. Like, I feel like a lot of it, and if you want my opinion, and this is not me trying to or like, throw shade. I feel like a lot of it's just envy.
Yeah.
And jealousy that people get upset because certain things don't go their way. Even within my own company, we've had some discrepancies where people have tried to like poach people from my company. It's clearly because of this envious rationale and mindset. And, I understand, I have moments too where I am like, God damn it. Like, I wish that was me on that lineup. But it just pushes me to work harder, and I think that that's not everybody. A lot of people will sometimes take it the other way, but, I'm not going to ever let that be me,
Yeah. Just before we go, where can we find you?
You guys can find me on every single platform in existence. No, I'm just kidding. I am on Instagram at Mr. Ronan. It's Mr. with a period and then RONAN. I am on SoundCloud at Mr. -Ronan. Or you can just type in RONAN, all caps with the O at the slash. If you have Apple products, all you got to do is just hold your O on your keyboard and it will actually come up with the O at the slash. Now I just taught everybody a life hack too, all at the same time. And if you guys want to look me up on anything else, on most of the other platforms, for Twitch and for the other platforms are all underneath my link tree, but it's at It's Ronan Ho or at Hello, I Am Ronan. Because we had to find a bunch of different tags for me because yay on branding and products. You know what I mean? It's tough to find tags that are accessible nowadays.
That is, but, a couple billion people make that hard.
Right.
Yeah.
But if anybody does want to find all of those links underneath one tree, I do have my link tree that is on my Instagram. It does have all of that information underneath it, with hyperlinks included, as well as tickets to my upcoming events.
Ooh, free plug.
Hell yeah.
I'll drop it down in the description and all that junk. So,
perfect.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Yeah. And if anybody has any questions or anything that they would ever want to ask me, please feel free to reach out. I'm really open. I try to get back to people as best I can. Obviously I'm busy as can be, but I do always make time out of my week, at least once a week, to respond to everybody that messages me.
Yeah. Well, I got you down for an hour and that was just off a message. So
right. Yeah, you did. Yeah. You got me right away. So, and it's honestly, again, I want to say that, like, thank you so much for doing this. This has been super cool for me. And I've never, ever interviewed with somebody from another country. And this has been an absolute joy. I mean, I worked with Let the Bass Get You for doing a guest mix with them. Shout outs to them, by the way. Like, they do an amazing job, but this is super cool just to be reached out on a Women Away. And I was absolutely pleased with this whole experience, dog. It's been really cool.
Oh, thank you. You guys make it, easy for me to do it. Everyone's so passionate about music and they always want to tell their story. So
absolutely,
that's what I'm doing.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah. Well, if anything, it's truly awesome to be able to talk about it. I don't always get the chance. So, it's nice to be able to talk about. Seriously. All
right. Mike Ronan, thank you.
Thank you so much, man. You guys have a good night. Appreciate you having me on.